Do we all have the same goals in the band? This is a very important topic and fits well as a follow-up to the topic of fees. We have also seen this in the comments. I have also received several emails that have reinforced this topic, and that's what I want to talk to you about today. Do we have the same goals in the band? That is extremely important. When you are just starting out, you are always super motivated. You want to master the set, ideally also get on stage, get everything ready, promotional material for marketing, website, social media, and so on. And then the first challenges arise. It starts with, what do we take on? Fees. Which gigs do we play? And if it eventually starts to take off, how much do we actually play? And you really have to, from day one, I claim, I don't know how you see it, feel free to leave comments. You have to be honest with yourself and above all, honest with the band. And you should definitely talk about it. And do it early. It's really not ridiculous, but truly enormous. I've found it important when working with different musicians and also at different levels and with different experiences. Namely, it's very easy to say, yes, we want to play 10 gigs or 15. But what happens if it becomes more? Do we then cancel them? Is everyone on board with canceling, or do some want more? It's also interesting, of course, if I have professional musicians, and by professionals, I don't mean quality, but career musicians in the band, along with amateurs, semi-amateurs. What do they do for a living? That naturally has an impact as well. Does someone have a family? No one does. What's important is communication. Clarify that beforehand. There's nothing worse than having a complete band and the gigs just keep coming in, and the first one says, no, I can't play that much, I don't want to. Then the structure you've built starts to dissolve. The rest might have to look for a new musician or just a sub. If you're looking for a sub, that's okay. We'll also talk about the topic of subs in more detail, I would say. That can work, but it can also really be the beginning of the end because the first musician drops out. Depending on the quality level you have, you might have to train the next musician or consider what your own standards are. There are also different standards and the topic of rehearsals. I'm not sure if we've already talked about that. Otherwise, we'll do it again. Feel free to write in the comments or I'll check myself how it was. The same goes for the topic of fees. So some might be part-time musicians and say, yeah, hey, I just want to play. Then they play for peanuts and everywhere, which affects the fees. We don't need to discuss that, especially when it comes to quality plans. But the professional musician, for example, and I play with professional musicians, they need to be able to make a living from it. So they need this stop. They can play a gig here and there, maybe because it's cool, like a local pub or something else, or a friend's wedding. That's all fine. You can always do that. Exceptions to the rule and so on. But basically, they need to have reasonable fees constantly so they can pay for their stuff, just like I do with my non-musical job. So it should be clear beforehand what we play, what we don't play, what we decline and what we don't. Also the topic of rehearsal behavior, how often we rehearse. When you rehearse, there will be comments again, rehearsals. What's that? I know that too. How often do you rehearse? Do you only rehearse at the beginning to have the set ready? Do you base it on the performances? How often do you meet if you play every 2 weeks? Do you not need to rehearse, practice or anything else with the set? And the musicians at that level, when you play so often, are also good enough to just play along without a rehearsal. Some people just want to have a band, an after-work band, where you can just relax after the non-musical, regular job, in quotes, and unwind. Just meet up and see each other. And these are really things that I must get that should be clarified beforehand. I'm not the one who decides this here, but it should be clarified because from experience, it always ends in a catastrophe if you agree on this here. In the worst case, the band is done with before it really gets started because something like this can happen very, very early. So always talk about your goals early on. What do you want? How often do you want? How much do you want? And where do you want to go? I once played in a band with original songs and there was the consideration, or there was the possibility to make the leap to a higher level, but it would have also meant risk because in fact the non-musical job for us was not everything. Professional musicians, either that would have had to suffer, meaning we would have had to cut back a bit, but the family would have had to suffer and there were 3 people with families involved and then it was really big. The question is, what happens now? And it's really good to have that somewhat clear beforehand because if it's with your own music, it's also very, very important as you have to put in much, much more and different energy than in a cover band. If you liked the video, feel free to leave a like. If you haven't subscribed yet, feel free to subscribe. There is always something coming regularly.